So welcome back to Woodturning in the Stable Studio. This piece of wood is magnolia. It's about a foot long and about 4.5 inches in diameter. You'll notice at one end there's quite a large branch piece which we'll just nip off quickly and we'll bring it around. I'm using a 1-inch record power spindle roughing gauge. Now as we're roughing this out, you'll see there's at the headstock end, you'll see a little black mark starts to appear, and that's just under where the branch was. It's actually a little pocket of rot, so we have a nice inclusion there, which is the thing that triggered me to think of this vase differently than just an ordinary vase. This piece of wood is quite wet, so it's turning very easily. So I finished roughing it out now, and I'm using my 10mm beating and parting tool to shape the tenon so that you can mount it on a chuck. And then we've moved on to shaping the outside of the vase, and because the wood is wet, we're just going to use the 1-inch spindle roughing gouge and just treat it like a skew basically. Some lovely shavings coming off of there, and you'll see that the inclusion really start to show now. Just about there. I'm just trying to finesse the shape there, trying to get it to something that looks quite elegant. I have a thought in my mind that I'm going to angle the mouth of the vase to give it somewhat different of a shape. So I've changed now to the 3/8 spindle gauge, just to refine the shape and tidy up the bottom. I was quite pleased how this cuts. So when we went to sanding, which we'll just zip on through here guys, we started at 120 grit and I sanded it on up to 400, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So there's only a few seconds worth of sanding here. So as we finish the sanding, we're using the Simon Hope inertia sander, and now we'll just swap out the stem centre and pop on our SC4 chuck. Just holding it between centres, and we're just going to refine the shape at the top here, make it level, and the bit you're not going to see is where I took the saw to it and cut it off at an angle, but that's a little bit further ahead. So this is now 2x speed, and we're going to speed it on up then, change the camera angle there, and we're now looking at the end, the opening of the vase, So we're just shaping the bell housing at the end, or the trumpet end, if whatever you want to call it, just to start to refine the shape and get the wall thickness on the flared end down to the required thickness using your spindle gouge. We're just trying to take nice light cuts because we're quite a long way off the chuck at this stage, with no steady rest. You don't want to be getting a catch here and knocking it off the lathe. So now we're going to just take the centre core out, roughly exactly where the pith is, to be honest. We'll just take it all the way down and take that away. So that's a 10mm drill bit. As you can see, when you withdraw it there, you can see the shape is expanding. You imagine that happening inside, so if you didn't take it in and out often, that would very quickly bind up, and then you would be in a whole heap of trouble trying to remove that drill bit. So quickly change then to a Forstner bit. It's a 2-inch Forstner bit, and it's 6 inches long. So we're going to drill it all the way down to the end, as far as we can with this chuck. Important things to remember: take your time, don't try and go too quick, and withdraw the Forstner bit often, making sure that you hold the chuck as you withdraw it. You may notice there I kind of put a bit of carnauba wax on the outside edges of that Forstner bit, just to help to lubricate it a little bit, and the what looks like smoke is actually steam. As I said in the beginning, this is kind of wet, this wood. So that's the Forstner bit finished, and we're going to now do some hollowing. So we'll just refine this edge using our 3/8 spindle gouge. Just finish the opening if you like, and thin out the walls a little bit on the trumpet end, the flare of the trumpet if you like. So now we swivel the headstock, and we're using our Simon Hope Pro Hollower with a 6mm cutter on it, just to refine the inside shape and set the size of the walls. The walls finished up on this vase somewhere between 2 and 3mm all the way down. Getting a little bit thicker as they get towards the bottom because of that inclusion that's there. I just give it a quick measure, see how far in we are, and I was aiming to get right to just before the inclusion, and that's where we are. So I'm just going to refine the inside shape again, take away any ridges that we have. I've changed now to the Sorbet sovereign system, and I'm using a French curve cutter on the end, or scraper even, so an HSS scraper, but it's a good tool just to refine the edges, make sure there's no ridges left in there. Back to sanding again. So again, sanded, in this case from the inside I sanded it with 80 grit first, and we went all the way up to 400. It's a very simple little bit of a stick with a piece of velcro stuck on the end. So again, we just speeded through the sanding. No point being watching sanding. And now we're going to add some detail to the outside of the vase. And that's my rotary cutter with a 1mm metal cutting disc on it. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking a line from the inclusion all the way up to the rim of the vase, and I'm doing it in a curve. So I'm doing it in sections, if you like, and then we'll try and blend it all together. You can see the curve a little better there. Now at the top of the vase, the top 2.5–3 inches, I'm going all the way through, cutting it all the way through, and then as it comes down towards the inclusion, the groove is getting shallower and shallower. So we started off at the bottom of the inclusion. It's about 1.5mm to 2mm deep, and then it gradually gets deeper all the way up to the edge where it goes all the way through. And I just took a bit of time there sanding that. In fact, I took a whole lot of time sanding, but you needn't be bored with that. So I used some couple of little bits of cardboard, and I made myself a couple of templates just to add some detail to the outside of the vase. Now I did have a thought there and I changed my mind. So I put both of these little swooshes, if you like, you want to call them that, on the same side of the groove. And lightly draw them in with pencil. And then the decision I had to make then was, what am I going to mark these out with? And I decided that I would use the rotary tool with a small carbide ball cutter. That's me in the selection process. So it's actually a 1mm ball cutter, or carbide tip. Actually, I think that that's not correct. It's not a carbide tip at all. It's actually a diamond encrusted ball for engraving on metalwork, but it works fine on this on timber as well. So I've speeded this up. This is at ×8 speed. This took a fair amount of time to do. Just a little bit of patience. But I'll zip through here for you guys. I quickly did the outline first, and then filled the outline in with sort of random pattern, if you like. Well, as random as humans can be. So that's the embellishing done. So what I want to do now is I'm using intrinsic colours, and that is sky blue I'm using there, and I'm airbrushing it on. So I want an even coat, except on where the embellishing is. So I've put a real heavy coat in the bottom of the embellishing to turn it really dark, and give the rest a sort of even coat. You'll see I'm going to change that just shortly. Inside's quite dark. So now I'm just sanding back in places. The two little swoosh marks, if you want to call them that, are sanded back so as I can apply paint. We'll come on to that in a minute. The centre of the vase, I wanted to change the colour and make it's going to be blue at the bottom and blue at the top, and then sort of fading into green through the middle. Yeah, you'll see as it develops here. So now I'm just applying some more, it's actually midnight blue now, and to darken up the base and the top of the vase. I put some random streaks in it as well, just to add a little bit of interest. It's a pretty plain piece of wood. It has a nice bit of grain pattern in it, you'll see towards the end. And now I'm using intrinsic honey to change the colour in the centre of the vase. And that's a little bit of forest green now, just adding some highlights or lowlights. Give it a spray with some acrylic sanding sealer. I'm now going to highlight the swooshes with some Joe Sonia gold paint. So we'll dry brush this on. So we don't want it to go down into the little dimples. We just want it to sit on the surface. So we're dry brushing it. It took a bit of time this, so that's why I've speeded it up. It goes up 8 times normal speed. This vase took 7 days to make, because I got 15 coats of lacquer, which you'll see in a minute. You won't see all 15, thankfully. So that's the first coat of lacquer going on there, just to seal everything. So the way I choose the lacquer is, I put it on the lathe, and I put the lacquer on until I feel that it's correct, and then I do 3 coats at a time, leaving about 15 minutes per coat, and then leave it for 24 hours and come back, and I lightly sand it back with 400 grit until it kind of looks all white. That takes a bit of time too, so that's at ×4 normal speed. And really what we're trying to do there is make sure we don't have any orange peel effect on it, or any blemishes. So with the sanding in between coats, or in between the 3 layers, so we'll do 3 layers, sand it back, do another 3 layers, wait a day, sand it back, another 3 layers, wait a day, sand it back. So we did that up to 15 coats, so 5 times. So it's 5 days worth of lacquering, basically. And now just clean it with methylated spirits until you get as much of that white powder off it as you can. So I just stuck a tennis ball in the end there just to give a little bit of support when I'm just reducing this piece at the bottom, so as I can get finished right into the very bottom of the base, and I'm now working on where I'm going to part it off. So another coat of lacquer. I think this is the last coat of lacquer actually, and then I let it spin for 15 minutes. And then we left it for a full 2 days to harden and set the lacquer. And after 2 days we came back, and we're going to polish it up now using, we're going to start with Yorkshire Grit Microfine, which should take us up to around 2000 grit. So it was pretty smooth to begin with, but you could just see the blurry edges of the lights. So after we've used the microfine, the edges start to crispen up a wee bit. So just use it like you would normally use it on wood. Rub it on while it's stationary, and then spin the lathe up and just let the grit do its work. It took quite a bit of time over this. So that was at 2 times speed you see me applying it there, and I ran the lathe up to around 1000 revs, and it goes on now to 12 times normal speed. So I spent a considerable amount of time allowing the Yorkshire grit to do its work. So that part of the process there is when the Yorkshire grit gets down into the inclusion and the little embellishing bits, I just blew it back out again with the airline and just kept going until there was no Yorkshire grit left. And you can see there it's a whole lot shinier, and the edges of that, where the light is hitting the vase, is much crisper. You may have to believe me that it's pretty smooth. So there I'm using my little torch just to inspect it to see are there any minute scratches in there, and there are some. So I went to T-cut, and that's just T-cut scratch remover. I have no idea what grit this takes me up to, but it does have an effect, and it does help to sharpen up the edges of the reflective light and polishing off the scratches. So fairly liberal coat, you don't need all that much. And again, back up to times 12 speed. There's no point in letting you guys watch all the way through this process. But you can see there that it's actually getting shiny, more shiny and more shiny as we go along. So there we are, guys. That's the cutting back of the lacquer done. And now we're going to add some Hampshire Sheen High Gloss wax. Hampshire Sheen High Gloss wax is my go-to wax. I like to use that. Again, we're back up to 12 times speed. You've all used some kind of polish before. So there's the vase in its polished, in its final polished state. At some stage I may put a coating of microcrystalline wax over that and buff it up on a buffing wheel. And now we're just going to part this off. And this was a bit of a tense moment after working on this piece for 8 days almost. It was a bit tense parting this off. So rather than take it all the way through to the middle and risk it falling or flying off a lathe, I left about a 10mm cannon on the bottom. And I finished parting off with the saw, which is a little bit more controllable. I have to say I did hold my breath during this process. took very light cuts, and I made sure it had plenty of relief cut in there as well, so as it wasn't going to bind up that tool. Japanese pull saw. And now we're just going to finish off the base, putting a little arbor into the chuck. And again, we sanded this from 80 to 400 grit. And I used the nitro rubber gloves so as not to get too many fingerprints on it. And there's the finished article, guys, along with Maurice the mouse. Doesn't really show up on that picture, but the when you're looking at the vase in real life, as it were, the grain pattern in the wood shows through as well, so you can actually see that it's wood rather than thinking it's possibly ceramic or something. There we go, guys, that's that. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that. And if you liked what you've seen, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. And if you'd like to leave a comment in the video, please do. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching.